best ever. Your mood gets better. Music, 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 music is the answer. Trust me, brother, and trust me, sister, 'cause music is the answer. 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 Of the music, oh music, music, music is the answer. Of the music, oh music, music, music is the answer. Of the music, 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 music is the answer. Oh music, 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 music is the answer. Oh music, with music, music, music is the answer. Of the music, oh music, music, music is the answer. Music, 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 music is the answer. Everywhere I look around, I see the same faces. Everyone looks to the ground, it seems they have no wishes. If you don't want to surrender and get down in the sorrow, I can make the things better. Sun must shine tomorrow. Music, 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 music is the answer. It makes you groove the best ever. Your mood gets better. Music, 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 music is the answer. Trust me, brother, and trust me, sister, 'cause music is the answer.
Okay.
Well, I guess good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It depends where you are. Thank you for joining today's meetup. Today we have a topic is very much, which is very much about innovation. I have with me today Nuha,
Hi.
and I have Adam. It's our. Let me introduce him quickly. Head of Engineering and Innovation, and I guess it made sense to have you around, Adam. As well as we have Bruno Gaspard, which is Bruno from that
From
agency,
Gaspard
which
and
is
Bruno.
Gaspard and Bruno, and which is an agency that is very much specialized in innovation, bringing innovation into web development.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a lot about this, so it's cool. It's
Yeah.
going to be a good one.
Yes, I see. We have people from very far. There was someone from Ho Chi Minh. They said, yes, it's like 11 p.m. their time. So thank you for joining us so late. That's actually super cool.
Oh
So,
yeah,
yeah.
I saw it. Yeah, that's
Yes.
cool. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
So tell us where you join us from, and also like if you're an engineer as well, or what kind of team are you
Yeah.
part of? Because that
What are you?
me.
Are you an engineer?
So legally, I'm an engineer because I went to engineering school, but at Prismic, I do mostly marketing. So yeah, but so I'm interested in the topics of innovation, the marketing field and websites field myself. But yeah, just tell us so that we also can talk about topics that will be relevant for you.
Yeah, we'll focus the discussion to what is interesting for you. Hello, Toma, Ryan, Panos, Gaspar, and everyone else there. Thank you for joining.
Yes, yes. And as we said, we have Adam with us today. It's the first time we bring Adam to the meetup, so I want to tell him thanks.
Adam, don't screw it up.
No.
Not today, no. Production incident.
Production incident. You know about these. You know how to manage these.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So I'm very happy to have you on.
It's my pleasure.
So to get us started first, because it's going to be on point, I have a question for the chat. I would like to know, it's like almost the end of the first part of the year, actually. We're going to go on holidays. There's actually no meetup next month, just so you know. But I would like to know what's the most innovative tool you used this year. There were lots of changes in the website space. So yeah, maybe that can get us started. And I will start by asking the question to Adam.
Okay.
Okay.
Most innovative
Solution or tool.
solution or tool, and we can't say GPT, right? Somebody else.
You can.
will say.
You can.
No, so a subset of the GPT, the code interpreter, I've really taken to it quite a bit. The way that it operates in a sandbox, handles data, especially the visualizations. The
Okay.
way that you can give it unstructured data and ask it questions and then actually lead to something resembling an insight is pretty cool.
Okay. Okay. And you, Sadek?
Well, if I don't have the right to say GPT, then I cannot say anything.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, it's cool. I mean, of course, it's like the one that everyone will bring up, but there are a lot of things that are happening nowadays, and there are a lot of early innovations out there. Like, for instance, I see the effort that what was it? And I'm not saying they are there yet, but the effort that Jasper AI are doing into trying to think about, okay, can we get the brand voice right? And that's very interesting, because if you can, that's a huge improvement. It's not about, so there are things that are about, let's try to replace humans basically in certain tasks where we can get AI there, okay? But this is beyond that, because in every company, having a consistent brand voice is extremely hard. Like, no matter how many guides you give people, at some point it's not going to get out of this. So if someone in the AI community can produce a product that can learn the brand voice, how the brand speaks, and then everyone will submit their emails, their text, everything that they send from as a brand, they go through a machine that will make it brand consistent. Wow, that's big. So that's an added value on top. So everything will start looking like how consistent Apple is, which is extremely hard. They have so many procedures there. Netflix, they have so many processes there to get that. Well, you don't need most of these to produce that. So I like what they're doing. I don't think that they're there yet, but that's a good angle at looking at it.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's see. Can we ask the people behind all of these setups to put back the question so that I can ask our guest and introduce him? Cool. So let me ask you, bring up Bruno. Bruno, before we move into your intro, can you tell me or tell us what's the most innovative tool you used this year?
Sure. So first of all,
Welcome.
hi everyone, and yeah, hi everyone, and thanks to having me here. So of course, as Adam and Sadek mentioned, everything around AI has been quite surprising for the industry, and of course for an agency like us. But maybe, at least personally, the tool that still keep impressing me quarter over quarter is Figma. And the last event they proposed, like they're still like pushing boundaries of like how we operate, and then more and more stuff have been pushing there. So yeah, quite surprised about still how they can make some noise even with this AI buzzwords coming up everywhere.
Very cool. Actually, the moment when it was acquired by Adobe, everyone was like, "Oh, Figma, that's it, it's done." But it keeps going into, step after step into innovation. What's the last thing that you liked about Figma?
I think that the last step that might be like feels a bit like low-end innovation, but just the fact that now with the Figma plugin within VS Code, you have like the code and the design and the Figma file that is just like with the simple tag like ready for dev. I mean, that changed and helped so much our workflow with just a simple tag. So it's this kind of also sometimes really low-end innovation that are changing and having the highest impact.
Super cool.
And please, people in the chat, this is the time, right? Get to your keyboard. Tell us what is the last thing, the technology that you find the most innovative this year. Go ahead, touch your keyboards, go for it.
Yeah, I felt like Adam had something to add on the Figma part, but I'm not sure. No.
No, not on Figma. No, I know that it's a fantastic innovation. But
Yeah. I've seen it shared a lot on the Prismic Slack. when they announced it.
Yes.
Cool.
So Panos is saying we have used GitHub Copilot this year, and the results are promising so far. Have you had experience, Adam, with Copilot?
With Copilot, yes. So our team have been using Copilot for a lot of different things. Even just having someone to talk to the code about, like a rubber ducky,
Oh yeah.
is kind of
Cool.
nice. We ask Copilot sometimes to write some tests, or even to give us some suggestions for naming variables. So
Oh,
Okay.
it
well,
has good
already it
ideas.
starts. I mean, it can start somewhere, right? It can start with that, and I guess having someone to talk to about the codes and discuss it. That's a nice one.
Our team has Slack too, but it seems like they prefer.
But even about the someone to talk to, there's this like video from Shopify, I think, that went super viral when they're like, they talk about the fact that when you start a business, you're like maybe feel alone as someone that just starts a small business, and they made this like AI tool that you can talk to and give you advice, and then maybe does things on your Shopify kind of store for you. So yeah,
And
there's
I'm
someone to
curious-
talk to, and like the partner thing aspect of AI, I think it appeals to lots of people.
I'm curious also, like from people in the chat here with us, have you used Copilot? And tell us what you used it for. Here we say we use it for two main things, and we use it for a lot of things, but these are examples. So tell us, if you use Copilot, what is it good at?
You have also Panos again adding to his answer.
Yeah, regarding Figma, automatically exporting design tokens has been great for bootstrapping a design system. That's right.
Yeah.
Do our teams use that? I'm not sure. I mean, if there's anyone from our dev team, please tell us if you're using that.
There's Alex and Danny, so yeah.
Yeah, I saw Alex there. Hi, Alex.
Cool. Well, in the meantime, we can get started now.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me do a proper introduction of Bruno. So Bruno is the managing director of an agency called Gaspard+Bruno that started in 2012, and since then they grew as a team of I think more than 30 people, 35 people. I saw on your website, and
Exactly. Yeah.
we've been at least the agency team has been working with you a lot and has been saying very nice things about your work internally at Prismic, which also like shared some of the most innovative things that you released recently and made us want to invite you here for this meetup. So can you tell us a bit more about the kinds of projects that you've built with Prismic, and then we can go about like the story of like what kind of projects you were doing before and how this evolved. But maybe first, for the context for people here,
Sure.
it would be great to know like today what do you build with Prismic?
I think that now maybe 90% of the CMSs that we are using for our website and our client websites are built with Prismic, because I think that you guys are one of the best headless CMS with this still website building philosophy. And I think it's more a shift as more and more clients were demanding to build platforms more than just websites. So then basically having the content in one place, but then serve that into mobile apps or more endpoints. And then we started to do that mainly with you guys. And I think the first project was for a Swiss bank in Sweden, in 2018. And since then, I think we've done maybe 10 to 20 projects with you guys.
Yeah. And you mentioned to me that also you were initially using a lot Prismic with Gatsby, and now you're moving to like Prismic Next. So I'm seeing also that yourself, you're also iterating on your stack and trying to figure out like the best stack for your clients and for your projects.
Yeah, it's something, I mean, that we have to, like, for a company our size, if we stop innovating, it's when we start to die. And we took the headless approach with a framework that some of the web team knew about, which was Gatsby. But clearly now, compared to what you can do with Next and especially the potential of slice, because it's also the way we think about design usually, more in terms of component blocks, slices, more than telling a story in one page, and that start with a static form. So it really allows us to have more a constructive model and an adaptive model of designing and building websites, and because that gives even more freedom to the marketing or sales team of our clients.
Cool. And just also one thing that I want to mention is that if the team can show my screen, is that you've built this website that says Save Your Wardrobe. So you'll tell us more about this story. but this website got an innovation award from LVMH, and so that's also one way that we saw your type of work. And yeah, we'll dig more into this, but just wanted to share this one because it's it's a great example of what you've built with Prismic. It's super cool. So I wanted also to mention that one, which we'll be talking more about.
Cool.
Yeah,
we were
and
part of that one.
yeah, it's very cool. And actually, a few things here: WordPress to Headless to Prismic, Gatsby to Next, right? And you kind of are experimenting and using AI. A lot of innovative stuff going on. And I think that I suggest if anyone in the chat wants to ask specific questions about, for instance, moving to Next and how would you do that, or moving from WordPress, moving away from WordPress, what are the things that you kind of regret and you don't have, or what are the things? And if anyone has any questions about this kind of moves that are very important, but it can be a pain sometimes, feel free, because that's what we have the meetup for. So concrete questions, they're good, and feel free, right? You would answer them.
Yep. Okay, so maybe first we can look into the move from WordPress to headless, and what's the story behind that. So can you tell us a bit more about the story of the agency, how it started, and what made you make that transition? That would be super cool.
Sure. So yeah, it's very French start, so to speak. So I met my business partner because our ex-girlfriend were best friends. So they left and we stayed. So and that's where we started to merge our skill set. So he's really coming from an aesthetic and design background, and I'm coming from an engineer one. So yeah, a bit a decade ago, we moved to London to start the agency there, even if it's the beginning was a little bit like a startup studio model. But basically every single ideas and startup that we were launching were fueled by money coming from agency work. And the lowest hanging fruit that we got in front of us was mainly WordPress, WooCommerce websites. So the company evolved a little bit. We had a few good and bad stories with the startup studio model. But it's for the last, I would say, 6 to 7 years that we reshaped the agency toward really a product creative digital agency, so to speak. And still the early days were still doing products, but the WordPress, WooCommerce part was there. And even if we really had a strong focus within the luxury and e-commerce field, and clients started to ask us to do more like mobile apps and e-commerce app, etc. But we still had the CMS constraints in front of us, beyond all the headache of PHP, MySQL, and all that things. So we took the decision quite early on to move to a CMS, headless CMS model. We experienced a little bit before that with plugins on top of WordPress to try to make a square being round and so on. And was a mess. And so, yeah, we then basically transform a little bit our tech stack so we could have an headless CMS / website builder provider. And that's how we started to use your solution. Okay,
cool. And so for a kind of project like the Save Your Wardrobe project, when you started this project, you already knew that you were going to use Prismic. You were already totally proficient with it for that specific project.
Yeah, but the first version was still a WordPress website.
Okay.
Mainly for a budget constraints of the client, because it's a really long-lasting relationship that we have with that client. And when we met them at the early days, basically the budget investment they could make at that time restrained us to use WordPress.
Okay, and eventually you were able to pitch and onboard them to Prismic. So I'm interested in the story behind that.
But if I may, just before that, now you're transitioning to the new technology. You said from WordPress to headless CMS. I'm wondering I see a lot of agencies and studios. What they do is they rebuild their own website so that they can experiment with the new technology. Is it what you did, or how did you go about first time trying it for a real project?
Yeah, I think that in this case we really started with internal product experience just to test in terms of how you handle the deploy and test a little bit the security, how it's going on, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that actually the first time we really did something using a sophisticated headless solution with you guys was for this Sweden bank.
Okay.
And this was the first time that we really was first time really fire test. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. And so for the Save Our Job project specifically, so they're on WordPress, and you tell them actually now, you mentioned in the previous call for us that you already had done their rebrand. So you need to convince them to go from WordPress to Prismic, or to like a headless architecture. I wonder how much of an effort that was for them, if you had to pitch it to them, or if in general they're interested in the aspect of having a modern website, and that was like enough as an argument.
I think it was two things here. So we always try to be the best partner as possible. And for them to basically keep having a PHP dependency and these kind of things were clearly not in the roadmap of and in their goods. So the pitch was to, as we also helped them create an Android app with React Native. So they started to get native and React capabilities in-house. So we told them, look, we are going to transition to this framework using this headless CMS that has tremendous of advantages. And one of them is like, you don't need us anymore. So you can basically do the upcoming updates when the transition is done, and the internal team can take care of it. So that part was easy. The transition, we faced some, let's say, challenges, both on their side and our side, mainly for the transition of content. So basically migrating all the blog posts and articles and etc. that they had on WordPress to Prismic. And due to their side was a bit tricky, as basically this is an option that you offer on more high-end sophisticated packages, but not being able to create content over the API was really a struggle.
Yeah.
Cool. And guess what? This is one of the things that we're working on. So that's good. That's going to be handled. So I was also wondering, like, okay, when you got this, did you get any other resistance from the client? Because it's a big change, big technological change. Did you have like some people that was like, oh no, this is too big?
Zero.
What's smooth?
Zero. And the surprising part is like how I don't know if it's because the headless world started to buzz a little bit, but even like bigger names, bigger companies, that they don't have that stress anymore. And it's also like, because we really try to pitch at least the idea of trying to structure an architecture and a solution that is as future-proof as possible for them. So the investment that I'm making today lasts as much as possible. And one of the key parts is understanding where you put your data, and by really well dividing waters between this is where my data is, this is then my website, and maybe my intranet platform, etc., my mobile apps. I think is gaining a lot.
Super interesting. I wonder for the people in the chat, I know we have a few people here that at least I don't know from before, so they're not in the team. If those people could also tell us, like, for them in their context, was it a hard sell or like a difficult pitch to talk about headless to their team, or if actually, as you said, it's something that is becoming more and more common in the website space, and more people like kind of transition very easily to it. So yeah, something I'm super interested in myself. So if you could share,
but
be
like an idea that came out to my mind, like, you know, if you have a team at the client already that they do React, and they had something that is written in WordPress and PHP, it's great. It's very interesting for them. Like, okay, it's rather for them, oh, finally, like this is happening, right, or something like this. So if you have already people in the company that know this kind of JavaScript and React, I guess that's a good news for them anyway.
Yeah, and me, I talked to people who told me that sometimes like the marketing team reaches out to an agency for a project, but then the agency still has to convince the internal dev team of the company. And the marketing team says, yeah, we don't want to go to the dev teams and tell them that we want to use WordPress, like they're going to laugh at us. So they also like they want to look good in front of their engineering team, and for them it's nice that the engineering team is excited about the project they're going to work on, even if it's with an agency. It gets the internal team excited. So yeah, kind of connects to they're starting to use React in their product. So totally cool. Something else that wanted to share connected to that is that Bruno mentioned that also the onboarding was pretty easy for the team. So you shared with me the presentation that you've done for them at the end of, or was it during or at the end of the project, that presentation?
I think it was right when we started to migrate the content, and also it's usually a deliverable that we offer to every single client that we're working to in that space, which is really trying to make them structure even more their content using the slices that we've built and designed for them. So it's basically a small presentation when they have every single slices that has been built, every single page type that have been built, and what was the main point, and all the variations that are possible with those slices. So it really helped them to structure even more their content, and I think that having their content way more structured can then enable way more things happening on the front end. So
totally. If the team can share my screen, I can show this. Ooh. Yeah. So this is the presentation. So yeah, branded to Gaspard+Bruno. And so it connects to kind of a brand book, but also like a more specific to the case of the website, I feel, with kind of guidelines on how to use the different components, with like notes. And for each component,
so it's basically one slide, one slice, and explaining a little bit the main point and different variation that you could do with that slice. So in this case, basically giving the full potential and the keys to the marketing and sales teams of Savvy Wardrobe, and basically they now start building their own pages, reordering things, and they don't need us anymore.
And these are like the custom types that this slice is enabled on? Okay,
exactly.
Super interesting.
So different variations, and mainly usually also the main targets that we're trying to get with those.
Oh, this is excellent. So that is a guide that you give to the client, to the marketing team, so that they know what to use and how to use it. Wow, this is great.
Again, like it might feel a little bit counterintuitive when I'm saying that when we do good, they don't need us anymore. But it's just like we try to deliver more than what we are paid for. So then the mantra is like, if we do good, they will be empowered, they will market and sell better the product, and they will hire us again to do something else. And we keep growing like this. And Savvy Wardrobe is the good example. So we started the collaboration when they joined the Farfetch incubator program in 2018 or 19 maybe. And we helped them do the rebranding, the website, and then that collaboration went well. We did the mobile app. The mobile app went well. So then we do the B2B side and the collaboration with the brands, and that went well. So we started this AI aspect, so we could do background removal and stuff like that. And now till reaching the stage they're in, when I think they're one of the best players in the sustainable and the fashion industry at a global scale. And it's exactly like the same mantra, like being the ones telling them move to WordPress, so you don't need us anymore. Move from WordPress to Prismic, so you don't need us anymore to implement new version of the website if you need it. But hopefully then you hire us to do, I don't know, the web label version of the platform or whatever.
Yeah, or to add more sections, a package or more sections, or so that's a I feel it's a new approach to agencies, as in. You don't deliver a website, you deliver a whole publishing platform for them that allows them to publish as much as they want independently. And the fact that you document it so well, not only you want to give them the tools, you give them the documentation, so you make sure they are independent and they know quickly what to do. This is very good, and I guess other agencies should follow the example of providing such a guide. Very neat, very clean, well designed as well. There is a lot of attention to details in this guide they provided. That's great.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because here really the main pain, because building web pages is really difficult, and understanding, and if you are really serious about it, you will try several versions to A/B testing per region, etc. And all those things are not cheap at all. And then even the end result is not so ideal, because you would just like get the cluster and subset of answer. You find the one that is the most efficient, and that becomes the truth for all your user. So even this is not ideal. And by basically providing those slices, syncing in components, so the messaging, the overall messaging and storytelling could be adapted by the team, is providing way more impact for our client, and therefore for their client.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, like, we notice that the moment you get serious about your website, a work on a page almost never ends. You know, you make a version of it, and then you learn a lot of other things from other pages and from what you're doing in your business. Like, oh, now I need to kind of bring that aspect into this page, and you want to update it, but which part to update? And then you keep working on different versions. So you need that kind of flexibility of not just making one version of the page, publishing it and moving away, but rather updating your website. And I agree with you. That's a lot of the work. Many of things don't even see the light because you're working on iterations on your page.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I would like to open a bit more the topic to, like, okay, now we see how you moved from WordPress to headless, and now you're able to deliver this experience for marketing teams to be able to, like, have a workflow to release more pages, always on brand with great performance, but independently, like they're no longer like dependent on you. I wonder also, like, I know your company and your agency is extremely innovative. If you've looked into ways websites or web development itself will evolve in the future, and how, like, are you trying to anticipate that by doing your own experiments? So we talked a lot about AI, but how AI is going to change that space and make it easier for you as developers, but also enable more your clients. So, yeah.
Oh, so we're jumping into
larger
the AI
questions.
question.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Everyone was ready.
So let's see. There's one thing that you talked to me about. Maybe we can kick off from there. That is an experiment that you're doing on your on your own website. So your website is kind of your playground. Yes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sometimes silly to play with this kind of stuff that we are doing there on this kind of website, and even size of the company, size of the content you're seeing there, etc. But at least we are completely free to do whatever we want and break things. So I think you are saying my screen now. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be launching this new version of the website, like in the coming days at least. So it's a pretty static and normal website, so to speak. But the innovation that we want to push is on that aspect, because if we just follow up on the main points that we've been discussing, you need to adapt the page building, and even the conclusion on the stage when we led the discussion in a few seconds ago, you basically, for instance, with this page, this is one page that we felt is the correct one, and every single user landing on our website will see the same, which is at the same time a nonsense, because not all the people landing on this web page are looking for the same things. Is it a lead? Is it already an existing client? Is it someone that wants to apply? So again, it's a silly example with our agency, but you can get for more like serious website what that could work. So basically what we build here is that component that it's an AI model that's basically been trained upon the content currently present on the CMS, which is Prismic. It has the know-how of understanding the different slices that has been built. So he understands basically the main elements that are around that website, and can start asking questions about that. So if you start asking about what services we're offering, you start entering, and you are like a new lead landing on that website. You get a structured answer and tailored answer with our tone of voice of the services that we're offering, again, based on the content that is currently available on Prismic. And the slices that are in different pages, but that kind of reassemble the ideal structure of information, depending on if you really want to understand not only how we think about building website, but the kind of services that we are offering for the different streams of services that we are doing there. And from there, the model is also able to understand what are the next questions that you may be interested in. So if it's like just for redesigning, and here again, you see like a clear answer, like a ChatGPT version, tailored that gives you a direct answer, so you can really almost like talk and exchange with the content. And here again, you have a clear vision of what's going on there. And here then it's basically just a simple and like ChatGPT version. So
It's very impressive.
How do you like it? How do you feel about it as an experience?
I think it's dynamic. It makes the page feel like it's alive. It gives the power to the user, to the person who's visiting the site, to go in whatever direction they want, and to have a page that's much more responsive to what they actually want. It feels like it's coming at you in real time as well, like you're watching it actually being built.
Yeah.
And right in front of your eyes, so it's quite inspiring.
Which is exactly what's been done. It's like the rendering of that page, it's done on the fly. So if we just set back like what happened in the few minutes, we basically just rendered, again, based on our content currently available on the web, on the CMS, etc., the perfect web page for someone willing to redesign a web page, looking for the references because they saw the work we've done for public. So for that specific person landing on the web page, the AI presented the ideal website and the ideal slices and order of those slices, depending on what that person is looking for. And so again, of course, this is silly because it's like an agency website, but like if it's like, imagine like a state, or like when you are filling your IRS, like those kind of highly complex, highly with intense interactions possible and different type of content, how this kind of solution could be helpful. And of course, I won't be able to demo it here because of the setup of the meetup, but basically you could listen. So here I'm hearing what the AI said here, and I could answer by voice. So even from a purely accessibility standpoint, this kind of solution it goes like 10x better than every single solutions currently out there, to basically, beyond making sense of the content and ordering it the right way, ensuring that every single human can interact and digest and understand what's going on with that website. So yeah, that was the short demo. I was extremely happy to share with you guys. It's something that we're going to be pushing as like a standalone product to help companies and agencies and brands make sense of the data and offer it the right way. But yeah, of course, here it's really the early phase, because we're just looking at how AI can help on delivering. But of course, on creating, the AI also make a total sense there. And for purely the A/B testing and understanding what makes sense, there is a lot of potential there also.
Yeah, totally. So it's very interesting. If like I go back to like the future of websites, what I understand from this is that you're saying today websites are very static, and like it's like one storefront that is trying to answer or to like answer the questions of a very diverse set of visitors. And here you're saying no, actually a website could be customized to the visitor, and like a dynamic exchange between a brand and the person who goes to the website. And you're trying to reuse the content and the visual aspects, or the visual branding that you put into slices in the answer itself. So it's not only chat, it's also the visual experience that you keep in the answer. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big question that we'll have to at some point. I mean, today is like, okay, well, basically AI and generative AI is saying like, okay, well, there are no boundaries to how much content, well, probably even good content that you can generate if you feed the AI with enough references and knowledge. Okay, now what? What do we do with that, right? Okay, we can do a lot, but what are we going to do with it? And how does it relate to the users? How users and visitors can make sense out of that? Could be into, okay, let's personalize even more. So personalization has been like in a kind of let's call it not a very deep level, right? We would look people at countries and personalize a little bit for that, or maybe a little bit more, but not much more. I mean, it depends on the different industries. Well, now maybe you can go way deeper into the personalization. Okay, one thing. There is the A/B testing. There is okay. Well, websites look the same? Should they be static or dynamic? And these are questions that we have to ask. Well, myself, I believe that at least the beginning of a page should be static. It's like should be this kind of passive browsing mode. I don't give anything about what I think. I just want to scan quickly. But maybe we can bridge the experience from being completely static to giving a lot, to pass through this kind of way of like already I can interact a little bit with it. I can ask it for more, but in a less less engaged way, and then at some point I will fill the form that is necessary for getting in, the service out. But I believe that, it's good that there are agencies like yours that are experimenting with this and saying how will websites look with all that change, and it's cool what you got as a result as well. I like the usage of slices for doing that. We're experimenting with certain things that are a little bit similar, a little bit different at Prismic, and I hope one day we'll be able to talk about that as well. So that's very cool.
Yeah, super cool. And Alex in the chat is also saying such a great concept. So yeah, that's great. So we're not talking about what we're experimenting with ourselves.
No, we're not. Not yet.
We're not. Okay. One thing that I wanted to add is I remember maybe 2 years ago I had a discussion with a company who said that they would like to do personalization and localization, but the problem was not doing it. It's about maintaining that content, creating it, and that required like a big team. And I feel like these are things that are now going to be accessible to smaller brands as well, to be able to do these kinds of things. So that's another big change that will happen, is that I think overall the quality or the quality or how engaging websites are, it's going to increase with time, because now smaller teams can also create very high quality websites. So that's going to be very cool to see. Cool. Okay, so our next section in this meetup is about the teams behind this, because we talked here a lot about the website, the Save Your Wardrobe website, and the tool that you've built, and it's all like kind of the tip of the iceberg of your team. So like the people that you hired and yourself also, how did you find these people, and how do you create an environment in your agency that nurtures this like creativity, but also this like growing expertise that in areas that you feel are going to be essential to building websites and web experiences in the future. So I want to open that section, and that would be also a very good opportunity to bridge also with how we do things at Prismic, and have Adam share also how we hire a team and how do we also nurture innovation in the team. So to kick this off, maybe we can first talk about the people. So how do you hire the right people to allow you to run these kinds of experiments and to develop these kinds of products? And maybe we can start with Bruno. If you can share like what happens, for instance, I know you invested a lot in AI. So when kind of in the story of Gaspard+Bruno did you start looking into AI, and how does that show in the team that you hired?
Yeah, so we, as you saw, like in just a decade, we almost had like 3 different chapter, from like the startup studio model, and website, e-commerce, luxury, and starting to do mobile, and for the past 3 years investing in the AI space. So we really are trying to be serious about learning, and what I mean by that is every single thing we do, we try to really almost measure it, in a sense, like what was the last thing that we learned, how long it took us to learn it, and be able to be proficient, so someone will be okay to pay us to do that thing. So when we hire people, and even in the space and location where we are looking for people that we hire, we really are trying to look at people that are really eager to learn and are not afraid to change from one technology to the other. Because today, as we mentioned, we are using, I think that the organization of our architecture now is in a kind of solid state, with dividing borders between the CMS and the data is in a headless solutions provider. I have mobile apps, maybe I will share content on an AI, blah, 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 etc., etc. But the framework that is being used will potentially evolve. So we just move from Gatsby to Next. Will Next last 3 years or more? Who knows? And we're gonna need to learn and adapt and keep that. So the way we push that, so we have really a a dedicated section in our company where everyone is involved with that we call Etude, which is basically the lab, so to speak, where we are pushing things, where everyone is invited to play and mess around, and we are pushing innovation in the sense that, okay, if innovation is basically connecting things, we need to build a lot of things. So we need to promote the fact of doing extra miles, experimenting, failing, having a shelf full of things. And then when we receive a brief, we look at there and we say, oh, we just need to connect those 2 or 3 things and maybe you have a solution. And we are quite also, depending on the different phases that the company faced, that as I mentioned, that if we stop innovating, we start dying. So it's vital that we keep that mindset and keep nurturing it.
That's cool. So in the last 3 years, you became serious about AI and you created this officially, even on your website, there's like a tab of Etude that is like almost like research part of things or experimentation kind of section of your company. And that's the place where you have all the side projects that might be useful at some point for clients, but still you want to invest some engineering time into them. And
sometimes when we see basically 2 clients having the same problem, we try to step back and say, oh, how can we build a product here that can help? And so far, it's a bit like from the startup studio DNA a little bit, but now more and more, at least so far, we'll see in the future, it has been pushed more in a competitive advantage model. So when we're entering a pitch against another agency, we are our product and solution that we almost offer pro bono in the pitch, but that makes us different in the aspect of how we are trying to solve that problem.
So here, like, okay, you mentioned this situation where there are several alternatives for a client, and you are one of them. What are the things that are always standing out when you are pitching to your clients? What are the things that clients end up choosing your services instead of anyone else because of them? Like, what are these things?
I mean, we are not winning all the time, but at least when we are most of the time at least going to the final, which is something I think still shows that we are doing maybe 1 or 2 things right. Yeah. But still, I think that on the innovative part, I think it's clearly something that stands out, and Savvy Wardrobe website is a good example how we try to blend all the skill sets that we have. So even for the budget of that website, the fact of using motion and 3D was out of scope. But clearly, we knew that if we started to push that, the overall website will have a different dynamic and vibe and be emotional and show the tech aspect, but show that we're talking about something extremely concrete. So like the fashion and like people doing broderie and all those things. So this is an example where we did the extra mile for that example. And sometimes like this is an example of the thing we've done that when we're doing it, we don't see, oh, we are doing that. So maybe in 6 months, they're going to win the innovation awards with LVMH, and then we'll comfort even more our seriousness on luxury, and then we'll get maybe more leads and stuff evolving in that sector. So it's sometimes serendipity and sometimes a bit of luck also playing there, but it's kind of this example of the extra mile that we try to nurture and push.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Like the extra mile, because some people go with, like, when you're doing this kind of phase of trying to convince the client, it's mostly sales. Actually, I believe that we should deliver value, and the value here is like you're projecting them into a new way of looking at their brand, a new way of looking at their website, and so you already there giving them good advice on how can they build their project instead of like just trying to sell them something that they want.
Yeah, I mean, totally. It's even like at the hiring part and sales part, like it's always like giving before taking. So we're trying to give them as much value as possible before we are taking them some money away.
It's a good rule.
And one thing that I wanted to mention also on the Etude side of things in the company, I think you also mentioned to me that for someone building websites for a living, like joining a company or an agency, they want to have like a space where they can experiment and learn while working in the agency, because otherwise projects become repetitive. And so that's also like allows your team to have like kind of a playground or a place of growth. So I wonder also how how your team is interacting with this like etude kind of side of things, and how it helps them find energy to then work on projects.
I think that we try to always make that part as interesting and motivating as possible. And especially it's almost at some aspect, almost mental health, to try to do better for the next project than what we did for the current one. And so, yeah, we try to push those elements and ensure that even in terms of balance within projects or between projects, there is this moment where there is this buffer, so they can keep pushed to learn new things and explore new things. And it's also something that we are trying to push for our client also when we are trying to move to the next phase of the project or a new project with a new client. Try to look at the tech stack that we have so we can have even more synergy and transversal collisions made between the different members of the team. So because moving away, for instance, from WordPress to JavaScript tech stack made that basically the mobile dev team that are doing mainly React Native could start to do web when we only start to have a fatigue of doing React Native, and vice versa. And same with Next, you can start to do a bit of backend there. So if you're tired of doing front end, you can start to look at doing backend and so on. So
super cool. I wonder how that relates for Adam to our engineering practice, where like focusing on delivery, but still giving this kind of buffer for the team to be able to explore and expand their skills.
Yeah, it's terrific. Listening to Bruno, I got a real perspective on his business, and I could sense there's a common currency that we share. It's not exactly the same, right? Being an agency or leading a product-led organization like we do with Prismic. But certainly skills are what make it possible. Now, the teams, they love responsiveness to change, like shipping. They want to be pushing code like all the time. They don't want to be in meetings or setting time aside for these type of growth activities. So one of the challenges is, how do you develop these skills? They're curious. You mentioned AI earlier. AI's been capturing a lot of interest from everyone in the team. So they want to know more about it, but they still want to stay focused on their work. So one of the questions is, how do they deliver while learning? And so it's a great question. On the one hand, they kind of have to make some time to get the basics, but the real question is, how do they actually ship software or deliver more software using these techniques? And so growing while shipping is the challenge. In practice, we try to share skills within the team all the time. We try to put people on new challenges that they haven't embraced before. If it's new for you, then you're in charge. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. And there's a chance to focus on specific skills that are important to you, important to web development or your development and growth. If that's AI, maybe there's a chance to use some of the tools, invest in some tools. Like we mentioned Copilot earlier, you can use also free tools like SourceGraph Cody or even just GPT. But investing in this for better understanding what it is we want to build to serve product, or looking at potential solutions. And you have to keep your brain switched on for this, because GPT can give you like the wrong solutions, but actively working with the machine and learning from your experience of interacting with these tools can be really useful. And it takes conscious effort. We have to set time aside. We have to make time in the calendar to make this happen. But it's a fantastic challenge. And all of our engineers embrace this, so I'm really fortunate to be able to work with this team.
Cool. Can I just ask one last question to both of you about innovation? Is like, how do you identify opportunities or things that you really need to explore? I mean, what made me think of this is when Bruno said, like, the moment you stop innovating is the moment where you're gonna die in this industry, and you need to be always like thinking of like, what's the next way people will build websites, or what's the next way people will build products. And so I wonder, like, how yourself you make sure you're always looking and always aware of the tools that you should like, or the tools or the technologies that you should bring in to the team.
Bruno, do you want to go first?
So yeah, I think it's the fact of being on top of innovation and new things, and I think it's maybe even more vital for a small company like us, independent and so on. But I think we really try to embed it in terms of the DNA of the brand, and just make it like even at a mental even aspect, which is like interesting to come up and see what can be pushed to the next phase. So I think that it's a model. I think that maybe we could have done better if we would have focused on the luxury and website and being Shopify Plus partner and focus on just one thing. But at the same time, that makes us resilient. And now I think that like moving from WordPress to like more sophisticated web and web app development, and then moving to mobile in e-commerce and serving like really global luxury brands, what a move. The last move that we made like 3 years ago and focusing on AI was not that easy. But yeah, I'm confident that that can bring us more in the future, and also in a sense. So we're also like working with Copilot, for instance, just to touch base with the last point that has been mentioned by Adam. And I think that on the way of giving time away for the team to look at new things, I'm not saying that we're there yet, and if they were in the meetup, maybe they won't share the same vision what I'm going to say, but I believe that what you can have with Copilot helping you on the, let's say, the boring task, or like moments that you almost have to do, but maybe he will help you from a 10% to 50, 60% of the journey, give you that time back so you can learn and push new things. Yeah, so at least this is where we are at the moment.
Yeah, actually regarding AI coding, you know, so all the tools that help with coding today, I believe that today we are too much looking into what is the instant value that I can get right now today. Okay, so GitHub's Copilot is like, okay, can it write my code or not? And the question is great, like here, can it or not? And there are some tasks maybe that it can suggest good functions and it's good, and a lot of others it cannot, and because of some limitations, could be on the context or something else, whatever it is. But I guess for me, I have to integrate one another parameter, that these problems are going to be solved in a few months, maybe 2, maybe 6, not more, okay? And it will be history, these problems. The ones that has changed their habits to use these tools every day, okay? Even if for a little value in the beginning, are the ones who will be ready to use it and to jump to it and to get the value out of it much quicker when they solve these problems. So we should not only think about what we get as a value today. We should say like, that's it. We have to be augmented, for instance, by AI. We have to, it's the distance, and there's so much capital, there's so much money that has been thrown at the technology. I don't see any obvious limitations with it. That the race today is how can you already accept being augmented by AI, for instance, here, because at some point it will get way more powerful. And at the moment, like if you have it, if you're already augmented with it, then you're ahead of everyone by a big distance, because this is where everyone will try to run to it, try to understand how can I integrate it, and you'll be ahead. So that's what we have to always keep in mind, I guess, for this. And then for balancing innovation and delivery, I guess, you know, it has been quite some years that we are trying to handle that, and we have many things, right? As our stack, we had to change it several times. Our product, we had to change it several times. And actually, it's all about, can we accept some kind of failure? Is it possible? Is it possible to fail? And that's the key. If management allows a space for failure, okay, we're trying this, you know, our move to JavaScript, for instance, for our own stack, we were not on JavaScript before. We were on Scala and on top of the JVM, whatever, and we had to move to JavaScript. And our move to JavaScript was not easy. It was very painful actually, because we had to learn a lot of things. We made a React application that we started from the Scala code, and it was so complex, and the router was complex, and we had to understand, okay, well, that wasn't the best solution. And then we tried something else, and again, and now we're on it, right? Now it seems like, oh, well, that's our stack. But it wasn't easy, but we needed to have this kind of some freedom for failure and more iterations until we figure things out. So I think innovation comes from that kind of perspective of management, and it seems that it's the case for you guys, where you allow that kind of space of let's try something. You try it on your own website. Well, you say it's like our website, so we are free. Well, yes and no, because your clients are seeing your website, and that's an important asset for you. But you're still trying things and see, okay, well, is it good? Is it not good? And that's important.
Yeah, you care more about the progress than the security of not breaking things, and that's guarantees that you're gonna get there at some point. Yeah.
And I see in the chat, like, AI is, okay, this is a good thing. AI is pretty good at making regular expressions, something I just like writing. Oh, well,
is that one of our team? That sounds like one of our team, because I heard that yesterday from our team.
No,
but it's not someone from our team.
Okay.
So it seems people
It's
are
very
agreeing
common
with
right now that this is a theme.
To expression, yeah.
It takes listening. Short-term efficiency is not the same as long-term optimization. You have to listen to what other people's experience are, what our own experience is. And even if you're failing, which does happen with AI, because it can be hard to debug sometimes, why it's behaving a certain way or how the model might even be changing, you're still learning. Like, the listening is so important to be able to catch the detail and prepare yourself for the next stage. It's hard to put into words, in fact, but your brain is changing to adapt to support this new model.
It's a completely new model.
It's a new model.
Like we were writing some content with Noha, and it's very funny. In the beginning, you want so much to get with for instance, ChatGPT, to get exactly what you want. And then you feel that you start giving a lot of questions, but it's not progressing. But you're stuck because you believe that the answer should happen here in this window. No, copy paste it and make the few changes on your own, and you're good. And that's something that we have to learn. That, okay, well, it got me 70%, and that's good. Let's copy paste it in Notion or somewhere else, and I will finish the line. And that's good. I will be the one that will be on the finish line. That's good for me. It's even for the ego is good. So how about that? So I mean, but that is a complete change. You iterate, and at some point you need to understand. Okay, that's all what I can get today from GPT. And it's good. It got me so far. I take it somewhere else, and I start iterating on it. And that's part of one of the many things that we have to adapt by being augmented by AI. Is like, okay, how do I work with it? What is the mental? What is the interaction? All of these kind of things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I will leave some space for people in the chat to ask us any question they have about AI or innovation, and I will just take 5 minutes to walk you through the product updates that were released this month. We do one meetup specifically at the end of every quarter, so we'll do it in September where we recap all the changes. But still, for people here who use Prismic every day, might also be good to see the changes and to just be aware of them and know what you can get from now on Prismic. So on Slice Machine, so the tool used by developers to build their page types and their slices, there were a few features that were released. Two that I want to focus on, one mostly, is the page type. So we introduced page type last month, and we keep adding new features to it to make it more useful and more relevant for you guys. So now when you create a new page type, we also have you have your page snippets that we made specifically for Next and Nuxt, for depending on which framework you use for your project. And another thing that was added is that now from your page you can create slices in the context of your page. Before you had to go out and create slices outside of the page types. So all keeping it close to the mental model of I create a page, you still get the convenience of documentation in the product with code snippets, and also you can create the slices from there. all is recapped in a blog post where we put all the changes to Slice Machine. So this is on the Slice Machine part. On the page builder, so
Can I
here,
comment on that one?
Yes.
Do I have the time?
Yeah, go ahead,
Do
go
we
ahead.
have the- Yeah. So there's something very interesting about this is that I feel we're walking backwards, as in, okay, we started all this kind of API-based headless CMS. Technology is important, the CDN, the database, and models, and all of that. And we got it from a developer point of view. We need models, we need relationships, and these kind of things, right? And we got headless CMS, and then there are several alternatives of headless CMSs now, and that's great. So this is established, and it's like, okay, well, what were we doing, by the way? Oh, pages. Okay, let's introduce pages. And like, I guess someone like, you can imagine it as an image where WordPress is like looking at them like, okay, well, you figured it out. It seems like, oh, pages. Of course, pages. Well, the web is full of pages. So I think we're walking, we're starting with the technology, and then, okay, we say, now it's time that we look at the problem that we're solving, which is building websites.
Yeah.
Other than all the other challenges that were there, and say, okay, well, let's introduce pages. And it sounds so simple, but it took so much time. And I guess that's also where the direction we're going. Like, things should be
Going
simple.
back to simplicity, yeah.
Simplicity, pages. Okay, well, create a page. How
Okay.
create a page? Create sections inside.
So what I'm gonna say after is gonna be very connected to that. So
Okay, cool.
okay. So on the page builder, last month, a guy who is the product manager of the page builder introduced the new page builder that is organized in website sections, a bit like a slide deck, where you compose pages and then you live preview each section. So that's again kind of going back to the basics. And so one thing that was introduced this month is also like going closer to this like parallel with building pages like slide decks and introducing drag and drop when you want to reorganize your section. So it just, if the team can also share my screen, I have them on my screen as well. Okay, now they have a little video. So here you can see like you can drag and drop your slices.
So
and
this is your actual
reorganize.
website on the left. The left side is your website, basically broken into sections.
Yeah, and then you can, like what we had until a month ago is that you had to click an arrow to bring them down. So also making things simpler and more intuitive also on that front. So these are small updates, but all like making it easier and simpler for you to build the sections and the pages and then use them for the marketers to create their pages. So that marketers no longer call agencies for this kind of changes, as Bruno said.
But do you imagine like how jumping into a page, like you tell me, okay, I have to update this page, and maybe I updated it or someone else, doesn't matter, and you tell me this is the page, and then I go there and I see a form full of fields and content and stuff, and I need to figure out which place I have to edit.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. I mean, let's admit it, right? And having this visual way of quickly, okay, this is where it is. This is how. These are the different sections. This is the section I want to move it on top of the other. Drag and drop it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Perfect.
something I want to give like credit to the engineering team. So we have Adam here and the product team is that you're seeing here, like we will recap all the changes at the end of each quarter. But it's great to see also like the two products, the one for devs and the one for marketers, all evolving for us like every 2 weeks or every week, or doing many releases. So
Maybe more than once a week, even many times a week.
yeah, going to the simplicity, but also one iteration at a time and making it simpler and simpler at every 2 weeks and week and many times a week. That's cool. So yeah, I'm a heavy user of Prismic, so I'm very happy about that myself.
You are.
I am. Yeah, we have a website too. Okay, cool. So
Beautiful website.
Beautiful website. Thank you. Okay, so do we have that comment from Panos that we didn't answer? If you can take it, Sadek, and then we're gonna close the meetup and thank Bruno for his time and everything he shared with us.
So about rotating engineers between teams.
Yeah.
Can be so rotating engineers between teams can be an effective way for keeping people interested and challenged. Yeah, and this is something we do, right? Between Slice Machine, Page Builder, and the agency team.
Yeah, so we have engineers that usually settle within one squad and make a big contribution there. But people want to move within squads as well or take assignments. And so we do that. We make sure that there's space to either do temporary shifts to other squads where they get a different context. Some squads are more focused on the back end. Some squads are more focused on the developer experience.
Yes.
And many engineers want to work where marketers are accessing, and this is what's important to them. And they say, I only want to be using where the product is actually being used to build the websites. Well, actually, everything builds the website in a way. But they want to be closer to where the marketers are experiencing it, and it's important to them. So,
and we're lucky probably to have different spaces, different contexts of the users of our product. So we have from the point of view of marketing person, from a point of view of a developer, from the point of view of you have the API, so it's also developer experience, and then you have also agencies, so different contexts. So you can change completely what you're doing when you do that.
I love this company.
Says to the CEO. Okay.
Like your
Well, thanks everyone. This was the meetup before the holidays. We won't do one in August, but we'll see you all in September. Thanks a lot, Bruno, for being here, for sharing so much, and for staying until the end. We kept you way longer than expected, so thanks for being so open with us. And I sent already your profile on Hire Developer in the chat, but let me ping it again for anyone watching the stream now, or also lots of people watch it afterwards in replay, so that they can also see all the content you've created and the experiences you
And I would like to share, we'll see together if you agree with it, but to share this PDF with people as a very good example of how you document
what
the
you can
sizes.
deliver.
I like that.
Yeah. We need to see also
maybe a refined version of that one.
Yeah, we'll discuss it later. Yeah, of course, we'll discuss it later.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Have a very good holidays, everyone that's going on holidays. It was great to connect. And have a good evening also, you, Bruno. Thank you.
Likewise. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.
And we're done. How was it, Bruno?